everyone, Ruby Wednesday here. I am going to talk to you today about The Great Gatsby, published in 1925 and written by the illustrious Francis Scott Key Fitzgerald. It is written in first person and narrated by Nick Carraway. He lives in West Egg, Long Island, New York, not to be confused with East Egg, Long Island, New York. No, but really, there is an East Egg. The East Egg is where all of the old rich people live, or where they have old money. So there's been money in their family for a really long time, and they've been rich since the dawn of ages, and they're really snobby. And West Egg is where all the new money lives, where they are equally snobby, but they get snobbed upon by the East Egg people. Nick lives next to Jay Gatsby, who throws crazy parties every night. No, seriously though, shit goes down at these parties. Other important characters are the Buchanans. So Nick and Gatsby live on West Egg, whereas Daisy and Tom Buchanan live on East Egg. Nick is second cousins with Daisy Buchanan and BFFs for life with Tom Buchanan. They are married and they have a daughter, a baby girl, who you see for about one paragraph when Daisy says, "Hey, bring out my baby girl, I want to show her to my new friends. Okay, I'm done now, bye." You never really see the baby again. Tom Buchanan is having an affair with Myrtle Wilson, who is married to the mechanic George Wilson. So, here there be spoilers. If you don't want to have the end of the book ruined for you, you can go ahead and pause it, or mute it, skip forward to where I have the no more spoilers sign, whatever you want to do. I don't know. So, here's the thing. Jay Gatsby and Daisy, totally madly in love. He wooed her 5 years ago when he was pretending to be rich, but wasn't yet. So, but of course Daisy was, because remember how she's an East Egger, she has old money, she's been rich since before she was born with a golden spoon in her mouth, all that fun stuff. Whereas Gatsby was just this poor as a pauper guy, madly in love with the beautiful Daisy, and told her he was rich, but he wasn't. And he ended up going off to World War I before anything could really happen, so she never found out he wasn't rich. After the war, Gatsby comes back to America and actually becomes rich for realsies this time, and all of his crazy parties in West Egg are his way of trying to woo back Daisy. Not really sure what he was thinking, like how throwing crazy parties was going to make her love him again, or if she ever really did, because Daisy's kind of a crazy person. At about this point in the book, George Wilson confides in Tom Buchanan that Myrtle Wilson is having an affair, which is awkward because Tom is the guy that Myrtle's having the affair with. But George doesn't know that. He's just like, my wife is leaving with someone. And Tom is like, that sucks. The gang all goes into New York City to have a roaring good time. It is the roaring 20s after all, not the boring 20s. And Nick and Tom take Jay Gatsby's car, his obnoxiously yellow Rolls Royce. Gatsby and Daisy are taking Tom's car, so they all go into town and they're having a grand old time until Tom confronts Gatsby. He's all like, "Dude, you're totally crushing on my wife." And Gatsby's like, "Yeah, well, she loves me more than you." And then Tom's like, "No way." And then Gatsby's like, "Oh yeah, well, Daisy, choose one of us." And then Daisy's like, "Oh, I can't choose, no, I love both of you, woe is me." Which is awkward because you know in his head Gatsby was like, "She'll totally choose me over Tom. I'm way better than Tom. I loved her 5 years ago." And Tom was probably thinking in his head, "There's no competition." I might have just switched sides there. You know what I mean. So Daisy won't choose between the two men, and everything is sort of awkward, and Daisy's really upset, and Tom is really upset, and Gatsby's just sort of like, what's going on? And Nick is just like... So Daisy and Gatsby leave in Gatsby's car, the yellow Rolls Royce, and Daisy's driving because she's really upset, and driving calms her down, and I guess it's a good idea to drive when you're really upset. Daisy is speeding back home, and Myrtle, who sees the yellow Rolls Royce, thinks it's Tom. So she runs out to see him, but Daisy is a crazy bitch and hits her and kills her and keeps going because she's a crazy bitch. George Wilson, upon discovering his wife dead in the street, finds out that it was a yellow Rolls Royce that hit her, and he goes off trying to find out who this yellow Rolls Royce belonged to. Long story short, he found out that it was Gatsby's car. He hunts down Gatsby, shoots and kills him, then kills himself. No one really knew Gatsby that well, so Nick was stuck arranging the funeral, and like 2 people came. It was super awkward. A little bit later, Nick finds out that Tom was the one that told George Wilson that the yellow Rolls Royce belonged to Jay Gatsby. So that made Tom, well, in the end, Nick is angry with everyone, and his friend was dead, and he leaves. Yay, no more spoilers! You can turn the sound back on now. It's currently considered the great American novel. Considered by whom? Just people, I guess? I don't know. I've never really heard anyone be like, no, that other book is the great American novel. Maybe some of Faulkner's fans. But, I don't know, whatever. It's not really contested, so it's just sort of, yeah, okay. The Great Gatsby is the great American novel. Obviously, I mean, they both have the word great in them, so who would say no to that? Some other stuff about Scott. Yeah, he went by Scott, even though his name was Francis F. Scott Fitzgerald. Francis Scott Key Fitzgerald. He wrote 4 and a bit novels. I say a bit because one was unfinished when he died and published posthumously. He also wrote a crapload of short stories. Fitzgerald also coined the term the Jazz Age. There have been 6 movie adaptations, one in 1926, one in 1949, 1974, 2000, 2002, 2007, and there's one not yet released, so that'll be a total of 7. These adaptations include G, a made-for-TV movie only vaguely based on The Great Gatsby, and a Korean adaptation, so that's cool. The adaptation not yet released is directed by Baz Luhrmann, and Leonardo DiCaprio is cast as Jay Gatsby. Not really sure what he was thinking. There have been countless movies that have Fitzgerald in them based on their lives, because Scott and Zelda were socialites and all that fun stuff. But the only one I'm really qualified to talk about is Midnight in Paris, directed by Woody Allen, where the Fitzgeralds don't really show up a lot in that movie, but I think they are portrayed very well. Tom Hiddleston plays F. Scott, and he does an amazing job. So, what do I think of the book? Well, obviously I like it a lot. It's not the best book in the history of the English language, but I don't know what I would say is, so sure, might as well be. I really love the book. It holds a special place in my heart, so my opinion is going to be sort of biased. I love the 20s, and I think this book does a great way of sort of showing us the glamour of the 20s as well as how it was not so good. So, I definitely suggest reading it if you have to read it for class or something. I know this is going to sound like a terrible idea, but just read the whole thing first. Do not wait for the teacher to talk about it in class and completely ruin everything for you. Because this is one of those books where if you read it on your own, well, okay, this is one of those books that I read on my own and loved it. And then when I was taught it in class, I hated it until I reread it on my own. So it really, I think, changes the way you see the book, whether or not you have a teacher teaching it to you. So that's what I would say. Try reading it on your own and form your own opinion from that, instead of being like, English class, this book sucks. Because there are quite a few books that, when you read in English class, they do suck. That being said, definitely worth the read. I mean, it is still a very influential novel, and I think anything that has influenced people has its own merit, and I think it deserves to be read. I really enjoy it. It's not even that long. This is my copy. I think it looks backwards. Sorry guys. It's only 159 pages. And I'm going to leave you with the last line from the book. So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. Thank you guys, I'll see you next week.